All right. Well, welcome back, Lizette. It's so good to have you back for a part two.
It is so good to be back, Carly.
I was telling
So good to
Lizette
be
we
back.
we could probably do a part three and a four and a
Mm.
five. We have a lot of fun talking to each other, and that's our main goal for today is to have some fun and have another awesome conversation about consciousness and love and the journey that
Looking
it
forward to
is
it.
to be human, right? Like obviously everybody's
Yeah.
got their own version, their own story of what their life has been, their own hero's journey. But Lizette, you're so good at telling your story and connecting the dots and giving us an arena to contemplate our own life of the forgetting and the remembering was really what stood out to me from last time that seemed so relatable that I'm sure if anybody has already watched part one, we're going to pick up and kind of weave this one on to the end of part one. If you're just finding part two, you're probably fine to watch this conversation and get what you're meant to get in this moment. The divine timing is always having its way. And part one will be linked in the description if you do need to go back and check that out if you feel called. So, with that, Lizette, let's dive right into this sucker. And where would you like to take us to kick this off?
Well, I remember the moment that we actually ended the meeting last time, and we were not recording, and there was this moment where I melted in your arms and I cried so deeply. And I treasure that moment. And I just wanted to
Mm,
start there, right at the
mm,
end of the part one, because that was the first time I had felt so safe to be myself on a YouTube platform with a host that I could share that deeply. And that was healing for me and honoring my essence. And I'm so honoring to you for facilitating that.
mm,
And
mm.
then, of course, I remember that I looked at you and we do that human thing like, is I okay?
Was it good?
Was it good? I mean, it was good for me. Was it good for you?
Right.
Right? And do you think it would be good for everybody else? And isn't that just the beauty of humanity, people? It's like, and I just want to start there. I want to start there
So
because
beautiful. Oh gosh, thank you
thank you.
so much for acknowledging those things. And it's more of a compliment than I could ever hope to help you understand what that means to me, but just thank you for taking the time to call that out. And safe spaces, that's kind of my goal in every setting is to
Yes.
let the person open, you know, and get to discover what's in there. What's in there?
Yes.
And then just sit back and listen to an entire world that you discover when somebody feels safe to open up and express who they are.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And this is the ongoing journey. I find that when we talk about what evolution is, and the evolutionary place that we are in, before we complicate ourselves, we must realize that each and every one, like evolution is happening. It's not something that you need to believe in or not. You notice that you're different day by day. And not that a horse becomes a squirrel because
Right.
there's order, for goodness sake, let us not go crazy. But all we can understand is like everything is in flux, everything is ever changing, and here we are as these physical fixed beings who thought I just needed to be one thing. And I can hear Whitney Houston singing from the heavens, give me one moment. And I'm thinking, why are we settling one moment? Why do I only get one?
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey, I want more than that.
I'm
I
a
want to be all the
timeless
things.
being. I
Yeah.
want to be I want to be all things. But this is what you responded. You were like, Lizette, I loved that interview. And then you did me the most beautiful masterful response. Instead of you trying to explain what it meant, you trusted in my eyes to see myself. And I really love that this is what we are talking about, because when we realize that there's nothing broken about us except maybe the mirror that we are looking into, that maybe is lying because we are asking the wrong question,
Mm.
you know? And the one question we have been asking in the mirror is, was it good enough? Am I good enough? And the mirror is like, well, you decide.
Right.
That's the real answer. We are
Yeah.
deciding.
Yeah. I
What are we
told you,
judging?
I'm so
Good.
excited for you to go watch that interview. I'm excited for
Exactly. You were
you
like,
to
go
see
see.
it because there's
Yes,
nothing I
yes.
can say that will do it justice of you getting to behold what you were able to express. Like
Correct,
filtering it through
correct.
my perception was going to do it a disservice no matter what I said.
Mm,
So like there is so much like right even just in that little bit of like how natural it is, how human it is to like look to the other to mirror back the self. But this is also why I'm such a huge proponent. And in my spaces with clients and groups and everything, I am such a big fan of recommending you go watch your recording. You
yeah,
go
you go
see you.
experience yourself.
You
Hmm.
experience you because my experience of you has me all up in it. You go experience you without me getting in the way of anything that like I can't appreciate you the way you can. I can't see you the way you can. And that's just the nature of like when I look at something, it has me in it. I have to look at you through me. And that takes away from you, not in a malicious way, in a I'm centered in self. We all are.
Yeah,
So yeah, like you look at you, you decide for you about you. Please, please
exactly.
do that. And how
And
was
then,
it
and then,
watching the interview? Like, how was that for
oh
you?
goodness, beloved, I was actually, when it came through, I downloaded it on my phone, and I was taking out a dear friend of mine out on a little mini retreat. So we were actually going into Mother Nature. We were going to this lake, and she was going to just move in the salt in the sweet water. So that's the setting I watched it in. And I'm sitting with Mother Earth, and I'm watching this reflection of me, like, girlfriend. And and I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And like the critic is always watching, like, was I okay? Was I according to the measure of one's thought? And I was like, no, it was just honest. I'm happy with that. No, no, that's honest. And I was so happy. But this is the interesting thing, because when people realize that the journey of development and evolution is not about becoming something, it is about truly allowing. It's that open, safe, not judgmental space that one opens for oneself
Mm,
to then allow for that to come out. But we need the safe containers to be safe mirrors back, and that has not been the case for most of us.
right.
So the whole help industry is shifting, if we will allow, into one that I'm very, very excited about.
Mm,
Very, very excited about, because it is not for one to say who you are. That who you are, that 2D idea of who you are, is exactly the one thing that you are overcoming.
mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because is it good enough? No, I can only be honest. And am I happy with my truth? This is the
Yeah.
question.
Mm.
Do I stand for it? And yes, I was so happy.
Watched it a couple times, didn't you?
3 times. I watched it 2 times that same day. And my friend was listening to it and she was listening and she says, "Oh, it's like heaven on earth. It's just two
Oh,
angels having a chat."
oh,
And she absolutely loved it. And I said, when women are willing, when humans are willing to sit in their trial and tribulation and notice it is their treasure and their trophy.
mm.
Ah,
Oh,
yes,
it was
we are
so
on our
good.
way.
So
It was
good.
so good. I was so happy. But then I was dismayed because I'm like, but that's only part one. And that's what we talked about. We had talked about the connecting the first out of body experience with Christ, but then where He led me and how that actually transformed my world after I left the church. That was the whole other journey of what I would say is empowerment or the embodiment
Yeah.
and the feminine initiation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's where like we came back together. I think it was, yeah, on a separate Zoom. And
yeah.
I was meaning to be like, so would you ever want to do like a part two sometime? And you were like, I think we need to do a part two. So we're both on the same page. Great. We're doing a part two. So here we are. And
Yes.
where does the story pick up then from where we left off? Or yeah, how do we weave it together?
I think we can start in maybe 20, 2014.
Okay.
2014, I would say, was my initiation into the feminine. And overnight, in a space of 4 months, my world had completely changed. My father died. My career shifted from being an employee to an entrepreneur, and I had started Authentic Pro,
Mm.
and it was really taking off. And I was becoming this trainer, and my marriage of 15 years ended, and my ministry of 22 years in the church ended, all in a space of 4 months.
And this was in
And there was,
2014. Do you remember like
yeah,
when in 2014?
my father passed December 2013, and then I divorced. Well, I separated in May of 2014. So it was that window
Okay.
that everything kind of shifted. And
Well,
what had ultimately, yeah,
we'll look at some transits after this on your chart because I'm so curious about girl, something got lit up. It sounds like it was
exactly.
divine appointment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crumble, crumble. But the beauty is that I had had a warning because 2 years before that, in 2012, I had had a vision about a house, and that was very pretty sitting on a hill. But as I was walking towards it and getting close, I started noticing that the house was kind of wonky and built on faulty foundations. So the windows weren't closing properly, the door wasn't closing properly. And this was a vision that Spirit gave me to show me that this was my life, kind of, or my life, or the structures of my life.
Mm.
And it was also an image like for what is happening in our planetary world right now. That and then what was amazing is I saw this wrecking ball just hit the house. And when my life fell apart, this vision became so prevalent because it was like it's the wrecking ball and or the reckoning. And the wrecking ball hit the house and it smashed it all the way to the ground like zero. And then there was this sweet, sweet, sweet angelic voice that was standing behind me and said, "Do not worry, dear one, it is I." And I was like, "Oh my Lord." But this is biblical because it's written that everything will shake until the only thing left standing is what is built on Christ consciousness. And so, what I hope people get out of that is do not be afraid of what collapses.
Right.
because your mother is great
Oh,
and she will catch you
yeah. Yeah.
and we will build again. And this is what happened in my life. I didn't know who I was professionally. I didn't know who I was romantically. I'd gotten married at 21, dating at 35, at 85 kilos, and a corporate kind of. And I just lost my job. Well, not. That's how it felt. I lost my job because now I'm my own boss, but I
Mm.
don't know what to do every day. So I buy marketing courses and keep myself busy trying to pretend that I need to learn how to sell something. It was a mess. I totally lost who I was. And so in that moment, the first thing I did was I got a dog. So
Goodness.
anyone in that, is like, earth angels.
Yes, yes,
Or a
yes.
cat, if a cat is more what you need.
One will
But
show up for you
animals,
most likely. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You will
Yeah.
notice many times they will come up for you. So when that happened, I was like, I remember actually on the day of my dad's funeral, I was walking to the gravesite and I said, I need to buy a dog before I get home or I will not survive this. And there was such a knowing about it because the grief would quench my spirit, if you know what I mean. I really believe that there's that point where the soul can, like, I give up. And I knew my grief of because I loved my father so much. And this is the attachment of the masculine
Mm.
energy in my life that I started understanding in a whole new way through the work I'm doing now.
Mm.
And my well being with his departure, or my acceptance with his departure, is the feminine embrace of my own masculine balance. Wow, that was a big
That was,
nugget.
yeah, that was big. That was a big point of even just
Yeah.
like the masculine and the feminine. And I wonder, ooh, this is juicy. These are two words that are very easy to say, masculine and feminine. But I
I know.
wonder if we could just stop for a second because it sounds like the rest of this story, it really hinges on previously operating through the masculine and then being initiated into the feminine. Let's take a
Absolutely.
second and just even lay some groundwork around like what is the masculine and what is the feminine. And let's pretend like we have a beginner's mind and we've never heard these words before. And just what is your perspective, like filtered through your consciousness? What does it mean, the masculine and the feminine?
I reverently use words because I don't definition. The minute we think we define something, we limit it. So this is why I reverently approach your question, Duanya. Not that I'm
I
wondering
appreciate
what
that.
to say. It's like so many different ways, but the way that I have experienced it, it is the force of free will. It is the one who has the plan and has the power to take action,
Is the
creating
masculine side?
structure. Yes.
Yes.
It is the power of thought, of air, of fire, you know, of the galactic, the wisdom, the I am. That is the masculine. The
Mm.
Christed one is the example of the divine masculine, for example, as he is the divine masculine example, the firstborn, the Alpha and
Mm.
Omega. So that the masculine is, that's how I would say the masculine is. The feminine is the water that is life itself, that is all memory and vastness, and has force to either be a trickle or a tsunami. and she is going to fill any container that the masculine will offer her. She's the waterfall. She is that one that is. And you don't, it's like I used to, I get very, how do I want to say that? It's very interesting, like when people meet me and they say, like, what do you do? And they don't understand a channel or a portal or a mirror, and which what is actually what the evolution is showing that we are going to, that we are here to represent a mirror. It's like, and we get to choose what that mirror is. It's like, that is your power. That being authentically you, that is your presence. And the more you will stand in your own presence, and that is the mastery, this multidimensional mastery.
Mm.
I remember many times when I would be in the hardest places of my life, and I would ask my higher self, and I would ask the Christ, and I would ask the universe, God, I was like, please tell me what to do, what is up. They would always say, remember who you are. And I'm like, that is not helpful.
Come on.
And for a long time, I was like, that is not helpful. It's like, just me and my buttons, we can't fix this. And I was so disempowered. And so this is why this is part 2, because I went from knowing the morality and the consciousness and feeling the frequency, the discernment, the masculine, but now really moving in the power of the feminine. This was a whole other journey.
Oh,
And that's what initiated, because I realized, wow, I have freedom to, I'm not married. I don't need the approval of my father. And I noticed how free I was, but then I also noticed how clueless I was to actually what I wanted to do, because I wasn't being directed by someone. So that means that I've got a huge feminine potential that doesn't have. So I think then I need a partner, and this becomes my longing
oh,
outside of myself. Like, give me direction. And this inner paradox is what I noticed became very apparent in my life. I will stop here to like.
yeah. Just let it sink in. Because again, same as last episode, like I feel like this is so relatable where almost anyone can project themselves into your story and find that moment where
Yeah.
you just want to be directed. You just want
Yeah.
somebody to tell you the answer, you
Of
know?
course. Of
And how
course.
human that is, and how much
Yes.
of a stage along the journey that is.
Uh, yes. And darling, the good news that really, and this is the heart of it, and I am so glad you said that, because this is the point of sharing one's intimate sacred moment. There is nothing I can sell that is worthy of me sharing my treasures in open forum. So why am I sharing my story? I'm sharing my story for this exact reason that you are saying, that I hope it is relatable,
Yeah.
with the good news that you are the one who is choosing to imprint this into the field. And so you also may be empowered
Yeah.
to choose again.
Yeah.
Choose again. I am someone who is starting over at 46.
Mm.
But in this journey where it looked like I lost everything, a career of 15 years and a ministry of 22 years and a husband of, it looked like I lost. I did not lose, because in this journey I found myself and this being. So they were right. Like, remembering who I am is really the treasure, but you don't feel like you treasure when you've been experiencing yourself as if you were trash.
Yeah. We're back at where we started of like, what is the mirror showing you?
What is the mirror
And
showing you?
the blessing that it is when every single mirror that you've been using in your life to know who you are in the span of 4 months is like gone. Like
Yeah,
to lose all of those mirrors is to lose that ability to outsource your identity. And
correct.
now, yeah, it's confusing and disorienting because there is this period of like, I don't know who I am, but that doesn't last forever.
It does not.
Eventually
It
you'll
really does
find the
not.
thread inside yourself. And
Yes.
that's the money moment right there.
And I just want to come back to what you say, because I so know that moment where we are asking so deeply and we are so saying, somebody just tell me what to do. I am tired. I am broke, in whatever way that feels for you or manifest in whatever form. There's many ways that we are made to feel broke. So somebody just tell me. And that is the paradox, because the thing is that it is right there, but it is in you.
Yeah.
But there is no way to tell you who you are until you will willingly choose to remember. And that is the feminine part. That is the masculine taking a seat on his throne, if that's what he chooses, or his stone, if he's a mama's nature boy, or his, he sits on his rocking chair, whatever you want, masculine. And listen to the song of the feminine, and listen to new things that you have never even imagined before. But this is where it gets tricky,
Mhm.
because where my um, my journey left me after my divorce was, it led me to first of all get closer to Jesus. Like, I'm a single girl, and I really came to understand, like, oh, that verse that says, Jesus is my husband, or the lover of my soul, or the Christed one is the husband. And it's like, yeah, he's giving me guidance. I don't have a head right now to make any decision, but I've got my head, the masculine Christ itself. Like, what do I decide? Well, what's in
Mhm.
harmony with my soul? Because when you're awakened, even though you have free will, which is the highest divine order, that is the masculine promise of God, if you will, from Eden, like, you have dominion, my son, you have dominion. And so yeah, that's his authority, huh? The masculine. But then he must also look at what he loves and see his fruit, and is like, did I treat my garden well? And the woman, the feminine, is the garden. This is the regenerative power.
Mm.
Where was I going? I was saying something.
Well, and I
I love
wanted
when
to
these tangents happen, but then it just
it all
woofed.
loops back in eventually and it's perfect. I want to just clarify too, because in the Bible the language is very like man and woman, but do
Exactly.
do you believe that like masculine and feminine is existing in every body regardless of biological gender? Just to like clarify that.
Darling, I will say in every single cell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Of course. In every atom.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Yeah.
of course,
Beautiful.
it is what creates form. And that is the duality. The light and the dark is what creates form. And that is the masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
Um, but I realized in this initiation of trying to understand what the masculine was in me, and leaving the where I was at ground zero, I was trying to decide where I wanted to live. So I moved to Portugal. And because dad had passed, mom came to live with me. So I had a wonderful initiation with my mother. And that was really the connection and my healing journey of, you know what? You never really noticed mom as much as you did dad, you know?
Mm.
And there was a huge shift in the valuing of women. And the valuing of myself as a woman,
Yeah.
with the falling away of my marriage, which was the ideal according to the program, right? When I
Meaning
started
what?
dating,
Ideal
well,
meaning what?
the ideal, like as in daddy approved, and
Like
we would all
good
go
on
to the same
paper
church.
kind of
It's all
thing.
good. It's all good on paper, and then it's completely hollow from inside. And when you say to people, "I really long for something more," they look at you like you a greedy, stupid, crazy person,
Why
because at
aren't you
least he's not
grateful?
hitting you. Like, why aren't you grateful?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Oh, so again, so relatable. So relatable. Very old paradigm of
I
like,
am,
yeah,
yeah, and I am very, very grateful. I'm grateful for everyone, but I am so passionate on one level of my life, like energetically, like I could feel always so much power, so much passion, so much. It's like I'm here for love.
yeah,
I'm here for love, you know, and intimacy. And this is what I found also in my research, that intimacy is the exchange of energy. Wherever that is like intimacy is baked into everything, or the level of intimacy is baked into everything. Um, and that's actually where we can give and receive,
yeah.
and what nurtures us. So when something is out of balance there, that is a masculine and feminine issue. And when we realize that the issue is not outside of ourselves,
Yeah.
and that's the embodiment journey.
So is that like the one of the key themes of this part of the story is that you stopped looking outside and started like fully turning
Correct.
inward?
Correct. And that's what consciousness will do. It's like that journey within is like understanding that being at source without blaming oneself or shaming oneself is truly the mastery. Because I needed everyone to be different for me to finally be happy. And because I think I'm a nice person, I did that in a way that I'm thinking I'm helping you.
Classic. Yeah. Again, like
And
that
I took the story far. I became a coach, a mentor. I will fix your life. And finally I was like, really, is my destiny to be fixing everyone's else life? And that was the initiation of the feminine. That's the
mm.
programming of woman, is that I am here to fix something. I am here to labor under the completely irresponsible decisions others that I cannot control because they won't listen to me are doing.
And then you
And
clean up
somehow I
behind
have to
them.
put up and shut up. Exactly.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow,
Was there like
dude.
a a moment where that broke apart and you could see that like that's not my job? Like was there like a defining moment or was it a series of things? How
It
did you see
was,
through that?
oh, darling, it was a whole journey. It was a whole journey. And it had to do with two beautiful masculines that came into my world. And this is how it's beautiful. Like, um, within my work, we look at the cycles. And when we can see repetition in the patterns and we can look accurately at, like, oh, what an opportunity to see the contrast and how I was maybe blinded to something that I should have been grateful for. And then I was really blind to something that I should have been alerted to. So it's always about what's the lesson.
Mhm.
So this going into this, right? And I had two men show up. The first relationship was incredible. And I loved the way he made me feel. He treated me like a goddess. And he was the sweetest, most gentle. I don't think we ever had an argument. I was with him for 3.5 years. And it was really nice. And I was living by the seaside, and I had the house, and I had my retreats going, and I had my I had actually my retreats just started, and yeah, everything was wonderful. And then this deep dark void starts gnawing at me, you know,
Mm.
like something's not something's not right. And I was like, when the soul starts talking, or there's this whisper, and we tend to, I don't want to hear it. Life is great right now. I'm just enjoying. But there's this looming presence. And the looming presence was this hollowness I found, this hollowness of loneliness, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
Um, and I thought, no, I have the perfect life now. Everything is perfect. I should be happy now. What is wrong with you? Really? And the right? And then it's fixing me, fixing me.
That's what I was gonna
Something's
say.
wrong.
We're back at I must be broken. That's
I
the only
must be broken.
explanation because this is
It's
perfect. I should be happy.
I am so and I'm so all powerful. The arrogance of it, even the
Oh,
illusion of it that they give us, because and it's funny to get trapped into it, because indeed I am very, very powerful to create reality, and yet there is this whole feminine side of acceptance of the momentum created until this point.
yeah.
There is a natural process afoot. There is reverence required in this
Mm.
sacred journey. This is the
Mm.
deep feminine.
Mm.
And so it was so beautiful to notice what we would say is the dark feminine. That is, but it was my hollowness. And I went to Spirit about that, and I said, show me what's happening. And the vision I got was that I was hanging in space, and I was in space, and I was hanging there on a net. And I was holding onto the net with with knuckles so tight, and even my knuckles were white. And I was holding on so tight, so tight, so tight. And then the voice came of Spirit, and Spirit said, "Let go of the net." And I was like, "No, you won't make me leave this net. Get away from me." And all of this stuff that we do. I thought maybe it was the devil. So then
No, that makes sense.
yeah, and then so then again the whisper came, "No, no, Lizette, you can let go of the," and I'm holding on to that net, yeah. And then eventually the voice like said, "Okay," because divinity has time. So then it left, and I'm hanging on the net until I get so tired, so tired, so tired, that eventually I let go of the net. And as I let go of the net, and I thought I'd get lost in space and disappear into the nothingness. Instead, it was like the black night came up all around me, and it was like a blanket of the softest, silkiest, velvety texture, and it covered me, and it like lifted me up like a hammock, like a cocoon.
Like held
And
you.
I noticed it held me. And I was like, Mama, the womb. And Spirit was showing me you holding on to this net, this matrix of how it should be. And you are holding on to your indignation of how shit didn't work along the rules of that you thought were at play here. So indeed, you didn't get what you deserved. And you pissed about that. But that doesn't help you. The only thing that can help you is to let go of the net and realize I wasn't told the rules of the real game here.
Mm.
And when I trusted to let go and trust this incredible galactic planetary intelligence that is life itself, it was this black hammock. So I'm in the hammock and I'm lying in there and I was like, yes, please, thank you so much. So good. And then the voice came and said, Lizette. And I said, I'm busy. I don't want to go nowhere. And they said, come out here. It was calling me out of the cocoon. And I was like, no, I'm not going. I am very stubborn. Spirit has a very hard time with me. So, but eventually, when Spirit calls, and so I opened up the hammock like this and I stuck my head out. And when I stuck my head out, I looked around and I was on the most beautiful paradise beach I had ever seen in my life. I know I had never been there, but I had never seen it. And when I looked at this place, I thought, oh my God, this is what's waiting for me. And immediately Spirit said, if you'll just trust me, I will lead you right here. Within, I think, 6 months of that revelation, I met my twin and I was lying in a hammock in the beaches of Costa Rica, convinced I had found the love of my life. And
Mm.
that revelation actually said, you see, you can trust me. And
Yeah.
that was the initiation of me really learning to trust the embodiment of the feminine.
Yeah. Wow. So how did it end with the first guy?
Well, with the entrance of the second guy,
Oh, well, that'll happen. Yeah.
right, but there was this stark distinction between who makes me feel good and who is just love and fire.
Hmm.
And this is the most critical thing that I had to learn to harmonize within myself. The difference between who I love and who I love for what they give me, or
Hmm.
how they treat me, or how they see me, versus I just love you and it doesn't make any logical sense except this is a multi-dimensional soul connection, like you're my blood and I don't even know why.
Yeah.
And that was number two.
That's like really powerful what you said there as far as like who do I love and who do I love for what they give me?
Yeah,
And the words transactional relationships have been
yeah,
coming up a lot in like the sphere around me lately. And it feels like, again, old paradigm and new paradigm, the old paradigm of relationship being transactional. I give you
correct.
this, you give me this, and that's the fabric of the relationship is this exchange that we're making versus I love you no matter what you do and like the literal unconditional love that,
Correct.
oh man, like talk about scary because yeah, you're just trusting that it'll be what it needs to be. And yeah, so you say this was your initiation into really trusting the embodiment.
Yeah.
The embodiment of what? Like what is it that you are embodying or have embodied?
I don't know why I feel like I want to have a pause. And there's another part of me that wants to run towards what I'm going to say next. That's what the journey really taught me. Being with the paradox of love, the fact that you said, how scary, yes. And yet it's the one thing that every single human being wants most of all. And I got to sit in that for 2.5 years in the jungle of Costa Rica. I was with someone that is so like me on the inside, on so many levels, ancestral. We went to the same school as children, conditioning as children, institutionalizations as children. We both went boarding school. He knew the people that raised me and loved them. I knew the people that raised him and loved him.
Mm.
He knew I loved my mother, etc., etc. I mean, and the love was so complete. And yet, the dynamic so turbulent, and not understanding why is it not working, why is it not working? And then I discovered there's always a third party in relationships. And this is what my work is actually setting us free from. Because when you know what is real love, so it's real, and I love you for you because I see your essence, and it is the essence connection that I'm being faithful to. Or is it the survival strategy I've created for this avatar of my being that is leading me and guiding me? And this is the beautiful decision that no man or woman can make for any other man or woman. But when you've made that for yourself, so like when people say that to me now, are you single? And I laugh because yes, I'm single, but actually more than that, I'm singular.
Mm.
I am not interested in anyone loving my energy because I love my energy. My energy is great. My presence, that is the basis of my entire creation and is the force behind the academy I'm launching. I know my presence is wonderful. So I don't need someone to make me feel good about my energy anymore. I want someone that loves me for me, which means when I'm in this energy, it's great. And when I'm in any other energy, it's great because I'm having an experience.
Yeah.
And we're sharing that experience because there's no one else I want to share this experience with.
Yeah.
And that's a reason for me. So but the third party in the relationship, which I thought was quite interesting and that may help a lot of people, is that what I noticed was it is not about one is good, one is bad, but for the feminine who wants to be true to herself. And there I was in the jungle, like this executive trainer who had this career, and here I was building a homestead and cooking and baking bread during COVID. And I had never been happier in the simplest of moments, and watching grass grow with my beloved and connecting under the stars. I had never been happy. I got so clear of what makes me happy. And it was connection to my mother, connection to my father, and connection to my masculine. This is filling my soul.
Mm.
If I have these, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that made me dependent on him. And so the third party from my side is that Christ is my third party. Christ is actually my first love. And and the reason I loved him so much, the reason we were so close, is because he's probably the most Christed masculine I've ever met. So of course, it's like, yeah, he's got the characteristics that my DNA recognizes, so yes, it must be him. But it's like, he's not the only one in the whole world, Lizete, It's okay, darling. But I made him, but really Christ is the one. So he knows that. And now he has like a standard that he needs to feel like he lives up to. And that was something that I noticed was the breaking point. Like, I can't be this good enough Jesus guy that's always centered and holy and amazing, that you actually deserve. So there was a lot of the
Hmm.
self-sabotage patterns going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so Christ becomes a bit of the third part, like what is the ladder that we lay and what is the pressure point? And that had to do with how emotionally sensitive I was around him. And it's that mastery that I had to build in myself. So like if the masculine shuts down, do I crumble? Well, yeah, in my case I did because I
That
that's how I was programmed.
yeah.
He's the rising sun and moon, darling. It's about his majesty. That's the way I was raised, baby. This is the
Like
love. So, yes, it was the love, but the way I went about it, god damn.
yeah.
No, 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 no. I was not raised to understand anything about empowerment or seduction or beauty. I
Yeah.
didn't think I had any.
Yeah.
I couldn't see myself. And of course, then in his mind, he has also two levels. And this is what I found on the masculine side is the masculine has the feminine who is home, the one who resonates with his soul and is his mother, like the earth. And then he has the other feminine of what he thinks will impress or advance him to his perceived goal of mission accomplished. And now, so that the friends would think she's sexy or like, yeah, I could take that home. This is important. Versus the true masculine doesn't care about any of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When he knows it's the one, he knows, he knows, he knows, he knows, he knows. So it was, and then he can get confused, like, but do I really know? And it's when they confuse themselves, then this is the disharmony that they all have to come, that we are harmonizing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like each side has its own disharmony, its own confusion.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah, like there's so many. I feel like we could do like a deep dive on even just twin flames because there's
For
so
sure.
much in the cultural consciousness around this
Correct.
topic. And a lot of people at this point identify as having had a journey along those lines, and myself included. And those relationships are so interesting in the way they drive home the individual's self-worth. Like
Correct. And it's
if
all
you
about that.
if you have a wound in your self-worth,
It
this
is going to show up.
relationship will blow it up, and you
Yeah.
won't be able to tolerate the love that's there. Like you
Correct.
said, like it's what we all want, and yet
Correct.
it also will hurt like a motherfucker if you personally don't feel worthy and the love is
Yeah.
right here in front of you, and it becomes so
Yeah.
obvious that like it's you and you. It's like this is inside of me. And yeah, like it was very much a very similar unfolding for me as far as like the initiation of I want to be solid in love regardless of what this other person is doing. When they crumble, when they get confused, when they lose track of the scent, I still have it. And in that relationship, I did not operate that way. But now, like 7, 8 years later, like I feel like I've practiced it to the point where, yeah, like, oh, you're confused. Well, that's okay. You'll figure it out in your time and you'll have your process. And like, I'll just be right here in my center, magnetizing back towards like this love that I didn't lose track of. And I may lose track of it in my time or whatever, but that's not his fault. Like, yeah, it's like deepened my well, I think like how you said it, like being at source without blaming oneself or shaming oneself,
Correct.
and without blaming or shaming the other, just being at source.
I mean, and this is it. And this is the amazing thing that triggered where I am now with the academy, because when that relationship could not work, it did not work because I'm not a good woman or that he's not a good man. That has nothing to do with it. And that was the initiation. That was learning how the old structures and rules of the game, or how we thought we could do things, no longer is viable. And we are understanding that love is not possession. And that sounds so cliche, but the thing is that that's exactly where it is. That's what I learned, was the difference of love and control.
Yeah.
And while I really loved, there was no freedom in my love for him, because I had not, I felt that he hadn't made a choice yet completely. And because that scared the bejesus out of me, I thought I could then just close them off and just keep them to myself.
This sounds so much like my story. Yeah.
Until spirit took him my by. And then I was sitting by myself. And the journey for me and the ecosystem which I'm teaching now is in this stillness of truly knowing that love is real and that love exists, and that love that I have for this masculine, which is infinite and ever eternal, whether he receives it, accepts it, likes it, acknowledges it, the gift is it, the love is for me. Okay.
Well said.
And that love is mine.
Yeah.
And now, when I can understand that that love is mine, and this is what I believe is the evolution of the divine feminine, is she's realizing that that love that she has maybe been conditioned to believe is for one sacred person has actually been cultivated to activate her true multidimensional giftings, which become then a source of universal love to flow for the many.
Yeah.
The priestesses, the mediums, the channels. And this is for male, feminine, regardless of body.
Yeah.
But the divine feminine coming back online, sharing her information, her voice. It's like, hang on, the masculines had a lot to say. I've been quiet for a while. Now it's my turn.
Hmm.
But this feminine, and this has been the balance, is as powerful as I've come to understand the giftings of the subconscious mind, right? And then the heart and the cosmic intelligence and the out of body experiences I've done and so on. The alchemical work that occurs. What I've realized is the feminine highest priority is love. This for me, you know? And then when this love was not reciprocated, and I thought, then this love is worthless. What Spirit did was taught me about this ecosystem and started teaching me, how do I love without giving away my love, but learning how to allow love to flow through me so freely that it starts regenerating everything about my being. And that is actually what the ecosystem is all about.
Yeah. Oh, the I just want to add this one little piece that is like really going off for me. And then I want to hear more about the academy and the ecosystem and this work
Okay.
and where we can direct people from here if they want to learn more. Is like that whole, I love so strongly this other person, but they're not reciprocating it. Like that is the last little bit of a holdout of conditional love. You know,
Right.
like that's the
Right.
last little holdout of transactional relationship of like, you only get this if you give it back to me also. Like, I
Yeah.
only really love you like this if you choose it.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
conditional love. That's not fully surrendered into the unconditional. And same, same.
Correct.
Of like,
Exactly.
that's why the unconditional is so scary, like you said about love and control, of like, it means surrendering control. They get to choose whatever they choose. They get to do whatever they do. And
That
you
is
don't
love.
get to use them as your excuse to shut down your heart. Keep it open.
Exactly.
Keep it open.
I do
Keep loving.
not get, and that's why I think it was so beautiful how the divine did it, because he gave me these two beautiful masculines who loved me so much, and I love them both in different ways. And it was teaching me how I am really treating me.
Yeah.
And the power of knowing what is love, but also like when to open the door to that love. And that's what the masculine does. The masculine opens the door, but the feminine, she's the one that shuts it down. It's
Hmm.
like, I'm not, it's like, well, that doesn't want it, that's not balanced for me, then I shut it down. And that was the lessons that I had to learn. But he was such a master. And what was so incredible, as I was trying to traditionally get over it,
Yeah, sure.
and I remember just lying in the depths of hell, and and my mother would like peek in the room, like, is she still alive? In some of the weeks, and I remember just putting the head from under the sheets. Mom, I can't find the end of the love. It's too deep. So believe me, whoever is listening, it's like, I get it. So even if you there, beloved, I promise you, actually what I've come to uncover is that it's the same measure of the power that people have not been taught how to use in the service of love for themselves and for the other, because they've been highly conditioned to believe that love is outside of themselves. So we take our relationships as our measure of, is our love worth anything? Is our love real? Is our love powerful? And this journey took me to collect everything that I had learned in both my leadership and executive coaching career when it came to the mental body of NLP and so on. It took me all the energetic wisdom that I had in singing and worship from the church and opening my heart and prayer and meditation and trusting it's okay to feel pain if that is the truth, because I trust that the waters will cleanse, and right behind that pain is the joy.
Yeah.
I learned how to sit in the waters of the crystalline memory
Mm.
and recapitulate and forgive and learn the lesson, and we start alchemizing.
Yeah.
Because when we don't alchemize, we don't lose the person or that. It's like that fragment of us. It's like, oh, it didn't work out, like it failed, there's something wrong with it. No, no. Those were some of the most perfect moments in my world. I am never giving those up for anyone or anything.
Yeah.
I will always love this person. I will never get over this person in the whole world. But there's a room in my heart now for everyone else to come in.
Yeah.
And that's what he did for me.
Yes.
He showed me that I'm meant to love everyone, that my love is not exclusive.
Yeah.
My intimacy and the one who chooses to walk next to me, to be the source of my nurturing and is willing to pour into me as I pour out into my ministry, this is the one who gets to have the gift of walking life with me.
Yeah. That is a
And
gift.
if they're not willing, they're not for me. I
Yeah.
am completely okay now with that.
Yeah.
But look how much I had to learn that I was not going to die the minute he walked out the door, which is where I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I died in so many ways.
In so
I
many
sing that
ways.
song,
Yeah.
Black to Black, right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It really is like
that's
parts of
that's it.
self, parts of our identity, parts of our belief system, parts of our conditioning. They do actually die. And it feels like mourning and grief and letting go of an old
Yeah,
operating system. And
yeah.
like you said, like I was laying in the depths of hell and I'm like, I've been there. I know the address of that location and I've been there many times. And that's where I think your vision of like hanging onto the net and white
Yeah,
knuckling, gripping the net is so potent because that's the alternative. Is
right.
like you cling to the net until you're so exhausted and like
Yeah,
you've manifested some kind of chronic illness or something like that's like literally taking out your life force.
yes,
Or or you can just
yes,
let go and surrender and let
correct.
it be. And that's scary. And I get that. But it's
The
not,
surrender.
yeah, yeah, it's not going to kill you, actually. Just parts
It
of you.
is
Just the, like we said at the very beginning, like, don't worry about what's crumbling because the things that are
correct.
crumbling are the things that aren't actually love.
That aren't actually serving you,
Yeah.
that aren't actually lifting you or humanity up, right? So allow the rearrangement, trust the processes of even the volcano and the lava, and yet look what Mother does, even from the fire and the ashes, the phoenix. And we have done this many, many times.
Yeah.
And this Phoenix on a Loop story is what actually I've dedicated the work to be about,
Mm.
is not getting comfortable in the loop, is literally understanding that the loop or the cycle has to do with understanding the power of love.
Mm.
And that for each and every single student and master at the academy is your own revelation of the power of your love and how you are navigating with this incredible gift that you are, that you might not even be aware of.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
what is beautiful is I wasn't raised spiritual. No one taught me how to be spiritual or how to move energy. I had no background at all. As I said, it was fully practical and all of this was demonic stuff. But what was so incredible is because I was activated in this deep love for this masculine, and it was unconditional, and it was in freedom, and there was nothing that I could not forgive. But until I realized, like, oh, hang on, I also have to love this vessel, and I took my power back and I separated for a little bit, and I saw that my job was I cannot actually heal anyone. I then understood I needed to heal myself. And where spirit took me was when I went into the chambers of my inner heart. They asked me, can you forgive? And it was the most gentle of questions. And I was like, of course I can forgive. Of course. Because I understand. I understand. I know the essence of this man, and I know the history of this man, because we have walked this journey side by side, this life. I understand, of course. And the minute the forgiveness happened, there was this huge activation of multidimensional gifts. I was guided into this journey and was told by Spirit, this ecosystem. And that's really when we understand that the power is in us and we can agree the power is in us, it's about getting ourselves into alignment with what is. But there's so many people saying what is, right? So the way I was guided to set up the process was to realize that the first element that really kept getting in the way was self-doubt.
Mm.
Because it's in us, but you actually have to believe yourself for it truly to be useful, correct?
Yeah.
And just as I thought when Spirit was saying, remember who you are, and I said, well, that's useless. It's because that's what I was thinking I was, useless. So then when my twin doesn't see me, I think he's the crazy guy. No, no. He's the mirror saying, Lizette,
You don't
you are not
see.
embodied. You
Yeah.
don't see who you are, beloved.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful,
It's a tangible
right?
message
It's the
of
tangible
remember who
message.
you are.
Remember who you are. So
Yes.
that self-doubt, I need to stop being confused about who's talking up here. This is the
Mm.
first piece. So this sovereignty is what we look at. And in the academy, our process looks at awareness and building that clarity of what is really your calling. And I can't tell you that, But when you start building your awareness, you start seeing the repeated cycles and those hidden gems that only your guides are teaching you. So that's the core, that first pillar of sovereignty and awareness. And then on the other side, to balance, is now that you know who you are, now the feminine of you was really for me learning about what manipulation was and what self-sacrifice was, you know? And it's like, I can't do that to myself anymore. It's like, oh, if I do this, then he's going to do this. Manipulation. I was called on it every time, okay? Anytime I try to make him do something. And then at one point I said, I can't make you do anything. And then he says, you do? He says, I do. He says, you love a stubborn man? I said, no. It's because everything you do, then it must be real.
Yeah.
I want a man who's real.
It's not coercion.
It's not coercion. You're
Yeah.
not doing it because that's the transactional thing. There we
Lizette
go.
made me.
So, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I needed to stop the self-sacrifice, right? And so the antidote we found in the ecosystem is, okay, now that I know who I am, and I know what my gifts are, and I'm getting my self-esteem back intact, now it only has real value when I have understood, who do I serve with this gift that I am? You know? And that's, who am I sharing intimacy with? My clients, my family, my inner circle, my collective, my neighbors, my partner. This is the feminine. She has great power, but if it's not serving someone, then she's all alone. This is why we are here, right? So if we have these two balanced, that I am actually taking all of my potential, and this is what the Academy is all about, is how do I, and creating that container of how do I know what's my calling? I'm clear, I'm completely accepting. It's not about becoming a Kali. I can honor Kali and love and recognize that talent, but I can't do Kali. But I don't need to do Kali because I can do.
Yeah.
And when we have accepted this is enough, then these gems come. But we have been made to fear our own light. We've been made to fear our own truth because we've been told by the masculine that wasn't good enough. You're not the one. So that was the healing part of our journey. Now, this is all well and good. And I was like, okay, sovereignty and sacred service. But to really thrive, I believe each individual in this new era is called to live as one single unit, harmonized within themselves. So I now am in a time that I can create my own security, both the masculine and the feminine. And it's incredible in my case, even my mom, that was not her case. So just one generation ago for me, that's a pioneer in my own life. That's my own journey as a pioneer, to not need my relationships so much to work for me to be defined. Do you see?
Yes.
So we're all healing our own. There's no one higher than the other. Each of us is unique. And this security, or what I noticed is alignment, has helped me with my self-sabotage. Where have I been trained to trip myself up? Where have I been trained to lock myself down? Because no one can stop a force of nature.
Yeah.
So if my life isn't unfolding, but the disempowerment we have been given, and I know so much about that, but also I have been taught and shown by Spirit, and am now starting to share in this academy, of what power is so innate within us and how we can navigate the fourth dimension. Light, spirit, what was scary. Is it scary? It is here to love us. You
Right.
know, it's like
Right.
saying fire is scary. Yes, fire is scary. Unless you build a pit and you reverence the power of it and you dig a circle, yeah, and maybe put a water around it, then you can build that, you can let the baby burn and
Yeah.
it will revolutionize your life.
Yeah.
But if you don't control it, and the thing is that our fire is burning anyway. So what is happening now is we are just being called to mastery. It's not
Mm.
scary.
Mm.
And that's actually what I noticed is the conclusion of it is what is man so afraid of? And that was one of the major lessons that came up because that was what I was being asked to look at in myself. What was I afraid of? And it was the fear of failure.
Mm.
Like somehow I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to do what I promised I would do or live the life that I thought I should, or I was going to get it wrong somehow,
Mm.
that I'd missed the boat, the one opportunity for love. Look how
Yeah.
starved we have been living on breadcrumbs, beloved. Love is the only thing that multiplies. Okay. So
Mm.
there is an abundance, believe me. And so it is amazing, like, how separated I was from my own inheritance as an identity. But then on the feminine side, it is like I still know it's always been about the same love that I've always craved as a child. It is so familiar. It is so home.
Mm.
But can I trust that piece of myself to express?
Yeah. Yeah. Self-trust.
Self trust.
Kind of the basis of letting all of this have its way with you and
Correct.
surrendering fully into the fire, into love is just like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, so beautiful. So if people want to dive in, this
Yes.
was amazing for them, they want more, where should they go?
Well, there's two ways that you can work with me. And the best way to go is if you know, like, there's definitely somewhere I'd like to work with me, the best to do is to schedule a 30-minute call, what I call the essential ecosystem call. And in that call, we'll have a look at what's happening and what are the three pillars of awareness or activation or alignment and what's missing, because we're all of it. So that'll be the best place to go.
Awesome. So we'll link that in the description box, and that's a free 30-minute offer.
Absolutely.
Take advantage
Absolutely.
of it and
Yes,
yeah, come back to it later if it calls to you to, let divine timing have its way. I have no
exactly.
doubt that those conversations happen right on time
Correct.
every time.
They do.
Yeah.
And also, we have a beautiful Facebook group that we're starting up. And so, welcome to join me there.
Awesome. Awesome. All these links will be in the description box and along with part one. If you haven't finished or haven't watched that yet, highly recommend. There was tons of good gems in there as well. And most likely there will be a part three. So if you have any questions or any kind of reflections that you want to share in the comments for us to take into future conversation, please don't hesitate to leave that there. Um, this is a journey of understanding this wild ride of what it
It
even means
is.
to be human.
It
And
is.
maybe it means something different for everyone, but I do love how aligned Lizette and my journeys have been and some of the high points that have been real turning points. um, I have my own versions of these same kinds of stories. And so I got to think that there's at least more than two. There's at least some other ones out there who are vibing right where we are. And I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. So until next time, I hope everybody's taking such good care of themselves, their sacred selves. And so will
Please.
we. Please.
Please. You are needed. You are precious. You are sacred. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.